sound of that tractor means it's time for us to go to work. Welcome to the Give Us the Dirt podcast powered by HGC. My name is Brandon Lindsay, and I am your host. So this podcast, combined with our partnership with the BuildWit team, has allowed us the opportunity to meet some incredible leaders from across the industry. And I'm talking about people that are truly making a difference in the industry by doing something that I feel like has been overlooked for way too long, which is the people. Yes. Investing back into the people. Today, we've got two guests with us that have devoted their careers to making the construction industry a better place to work. Through their work, they're making construction more inclusive, more accepting, more diversified, and just overall more better. And so a previous guest of ours, Amy Sullivan of ABC Carolinas, introduced us to our guest today, and we're excited to hear their stories. We have construction's version of Thelma and Louise in the house today. We have Christi Powell from 84 Lumber and Angela Gardner from Hill Electric. Welcome to the Give Us the Dirt podcast.
Thank you for having us. We're excited.
How you like that new title, the Thelma and Louise of construction?
I really like it because I don't follow rules very well. I like the idea of being in a convertible and going over the border. Right?
You can see it, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, they get totally fit. So, how long have you two known each other?
2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was so much longer.
No,
okay.
We were instant friends, though.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. We met on LinkedIn.
Really?
Actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just random and just connected and said, hey, let's do this thing together?
Well, no, it really wasn't random. I'd been in the industry in sales for 27 years, and I didn't have anybody that looked like me in my life for 27 years, right? And I just happened to have an opportunity to work for 84 corporately as the WBE market manager. And I was scared of taking that leap, just being out of the field and being in an office situation, even though I'd worked for corporate before. So I had noticed Angela on LinkedIn and noticed that she was in business development, which is more what my role was going to look like. And I just reached out to her and said, hey, will you help me? I'm trying to decide if I want to do this or not. And that's how we met.
How cool is that? I totally had this story like you guys been planning this forever and you've known each other for. I was actually going to have you introduce each other, but now can you do that after 2 years?
We're still learning a lot about each other. We learned some things on the way here today.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't you introduce Angela to us?
She isn't even doing the way he usually does it. We prepared for
you
her.
did? Okay, all right.
No,
you prepared. All right, here, let's do that.
I like his version better today.
I tried to switch it up. I didn't want it to be stale, and then people were coming in prepared for it, and I was like, all right, I got to shake it up now. They're on to me.
Actually, I'm still prepared because I know what she. Yeah.
Why don't you introduce Christi to us?
Okay, it's everything that I am really, a lot. It's so crazy how similar we are. Yes. She is a driven person. She cares about people. She's very passionate about her family and loves her family, is dedicated to them. And she's extremely loyal if you're loyal back to her. And, what else can I say about you? I'm trying to think about the things that are more, personal. I know that you're not, for me, I love to cook. She's
I'm not the cook.
Oh.
A great cook, but I get great tips from her, places where to buy prepackaged food. That's a good start.
That's a great introduction.
That is a great introduction.
All right, your turn.
So when I first met Angela, probably what drew me in the most is her passion. And she really cares about people, and it's authentic. And she was very vulnerable the first time I met her. And it really, being in industry for 27 years and being the only one that looked like me, it was an odd thing to see in a meeting. So it inspired me to be more Christi.
Oh, wow.
Instead of being somebody that I was trying to be to fit in the place that I was fitting, right? If that makes any sense.
It makes total sense.
Yeah. So, and it was her passion and authenticity and love for people and caring about women that really I want to be more like her, right? Like you surround yourself with people that make you better. Yeah. And there are qualities in Angela that I really wanted better in myself. So
that could not have gone any better. That was awesome. Like y'all were meant to be together. This is
for sure.
And so So tell me a little bit about your role at 84 Lumber.
So now my role at 84 Lumber is I'm the WBE market manager. I'm the lead. I have a young girl that works for me, and I really have been focused on women business enterprise opportunities. So as you know, with Hoopog Grading, we run into contracts where we're trying to fulfill WBE requirements and goals and MBE requirements and goals. So one of the challenges I saw when I first took the role, me not knowing a lot about WBE, but I knew a lot about construction, I started looking at it from a different view than a lot of people look at it from. And when I saw the challenges that our contractors that we do business with were facing, I wanted to make that better for them, right? What better way to sell than to add the most value to the people that you do business with, right? So I saw their challenges in meeting WBE needs because we are not certified everywhere in the United States. And so I started interviewing. I had over 1,000 interviews with women and minorities, small businesses, and asked them, what do you need and what will it take for you to get certified, and how can I help you, right? And the things that I learned in those conversations were heartbreaking. There were things that I didn't realize that people were struggling with that were a real struggle, and 84 Lumber has a platform to be able to support them in a way that nobody else has ever done before. So we created an initiative called Build the Way, and it's just kind of gone from there. But my biggest goal is not only to seek out multifamily opportunities for our company that has WBE requirements, but at the same time, we're building up the community by helping small women and minority-owned businesses grow their business.
That's incredible. I've never heard of anything like that. Is there anyone else that's doing that?
No, not that I'm aware of. But
was this your idea?
Now.
Did you come up with this idea?
I can't say that it was all my idea. It was the 1,000 conversations that created the idea. I love research, so every conversation I was taking tidbits and nuggets from each of those conversations, and then figuring I'm a analyzer, right? Like, so if I do this, this will help them, this will help our company, and this is going to help our customers, right? So it's a win, 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 win. Like, there's 4 wins in that initiative. And so once I pulled it together, then I tested it with a couple of folks and saw the return on investment. So it was good for our company, and then presented it to the company, and they were like, this is great.
It is great. So. It is great. And you know what? So the cool thing about that is I tell people all the time, if you want to be the best partner to your clients, solve their problems.
Exactly.
Identify their problems and help them solve those problems. And that's exactly what you did. But in the process, you were able to solve problems on the other end.
Right.
You were to say, what's keeping you from being able to do this, and how can we help you get there?
Yes, because you know the requirements are getting higher and higher every day, right? So the percentages are high, and we as in construction are not going to. We're having a hard time meeting the 8% WBE spend on a project that's $60 million. How are we going to meet the 35% that we're seeing now if we don't start helping the women and the minorities grow their businesses?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
that's
very
powerful.
Cool. Yeah, love it.
All right, so, Anja, tell me about you. What are you doing?
So I always like to kind of start off from the beginning. So because it says how I landed at Hill Electric. So I worked in my family business. I kind of fell into construction in my family business, and they're pretty much an e-commerce stock house plan company. I worked there for 18 years, and then I transitioned into the commercial world. And you know, I don't know how many folks are out there familiar with this story, but it's pretty hard to find just a regular position if you've run a company before. They all think you want to run the company or own it. And I know what that's like. I don't have to have that again. So finally, a peer of mine introduced me to Hill Electric, the owner, and they were looking for a director of business development and marketing. So, and that was 3 years ago. And I loved them. I love their company. We have 70 employees, and I'm part of the core team. And it's a small business, so I'm very familiar with that. And so you kind of can do kind of whatever if they ask you to do.
There's some freedom in that.
Yeah, you can do so you can help out. So I also help out with the workforce development a lot. And so we're doing a ton in the career centers. one of the career centers, we have them building a house, and we're helping them finance it, and then we're going to do a video on that, so it kind of shows the kids working there, and then so little things like that, and then I can go out and do sales, the typical sales, and in marketing, which is really, I'm just getting their name out there and branding it and things like this. And that's why I kind of needed to find a little thing different. So I've always throughout my career, I've done things a little bit different. And like this would be one of them, this podcast, right?
Right.
I mean, so many people are doing it now.
I know.
Yeah.
You guys are making it cool. So.
We are making it cool.
That's all. So the construction industry was it new to you prior to Hill?
Well, not really. I would always go on job sites with my dad because he was an architect and we built all of our homes. So I would go on the job sites and pick up cigarette butts and stuff like that. But and my granddad was a plumber, so I was very familiar with all
it's
of
in
the
our blood.
I was very familiar with what happens in the family. And,
okay.
Yeah. So no. But I did have to learn a new sector because residential is much different than commercial and industrial, which is fine. I love learning.
And you went to University of South Carolina?
Yes, I did.
Congratulations on last weekend. I'm a little bit Jackson here. He's also Gamecock.
Well, actually, my parents graduated from Clemson, so I'm kind of I'm in both courts.
She's a Tiger fan.
But yes, I'm happy for USC.
I bet you are. You should be. You should be. Well, so I talked about this before we started recording that y'all are busy. You got a lot going on. All right, take aside the job that you do, the day-to-day job. You're speaking. You're doing a podcast. You're all over the place. How do you manage that?
I'm not sure yet. You'll have to ask me that again in a year. I have people in my life like Angela, who, when I said the other day that I might want to run for lieutenant governor, she said, "You are not."
You need people like that in your life that can talk you out.
Do you think you are going to do?
Right.
She's
Where would you fit that in?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's how I manage it. Is I have great people in my life that help hold me accountable.
And I think she can definitely do it. It's just a matter of,
I'm a visionary, and so I'm always, like, my drive to work is overwhelming because to everyone I know, which is crazy, but that vision is what drives me, right? Like, people have to, like Angela, pull me down into the present. Okay, wait a minute. We have to think about this first before we go on to what's going to happen 20 years from now, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's great to be a visionary, and I'm a little bit of a visionary myself. But sometimes, you get distracted, and that next vision comes up, and all right, let's go here. Let's move to this, and you got to get some things done.
Conducive for a plan, right?
It's exhausting. It's exhausting, especially to those that are running alongside of us. They're like, hold up.
Yeah.
We just started this new thing. You're already moving on to lieutenant governor.
Yeah. Well, no, not really. I just love Pamela Yvette. She's our lieutenant governor in South Carolina. And every time I hear her speak, I think, I could work with her and we could make a big difference together. So it wasn't really that I want that title. It's I love what she's doing. We have 40,000 women-owned business in South Carolina. We're number 4 in the state.
How many?
40,000 women-owned businesses in the state of South Carolina.
I would have never guessed.
So
I think women are moving their businesses to our area.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. So listening to her speak on Friday, I just looked at, who was it, Laura? And then Laura told her, and then she was like, when are you going to do this?
No, you told me. But
Okay.
we both have that entrepreneur gene.
Yeah.
But we both come at it a different way, which I think it's a great relationship and successful.
It is.
Well, you both are doing some incredible, and we're going to get into this because I want to talk about the podcast. I want to talk about the mission behind it and what you're hoping to accomplish with it. But I want to talk about what got you there. Like growing up and your career, I mean, both of you, 27, 26 years in the industry, which, by the way, y'all had to have started when you were 5 to do that.
Well,
I wish.
I grew up in a family business, so I pretty much did.
You did start
yes,
when you
I
were
can say I did.
What experiences have you encountered throughout your career that kind of got you to this point to where you felt like, hey, this is something I need to press into? Have you overcome some of these obstacles that you're?
Sure. Yeah. But you know what? And like she did with 84, you know, you hear all these conversations, and that's where it brings you. I feel so fortunate that I have not had to deal with a lot of the things that I've heard, like when we go into the technical schools and talk, us women, because we also have a women construction forum where we'll go and, you know, mentor other ladies, or we get together and share our challenges. And when I hear those stories, I'm like, oh my goodness, we need to share this wealth of information just to educate. But
what stories?
Well, I'll wait just a second. But I mean, mine is, you know, being president, running a company at age 30,
right?
And having to deal with like architects that, you know, are senior level and kind of telling them what to do. Now, a lot of that is earning their respect. You know, that's easy. You know, I once lived in New York City and worked for a man, and he told me to put on lipstick. I think that was about as hard as it got for me, you know, or someone telling me to do something that I didn't want to do. And if they ever said that to me, I just changed jobs. But, and I mean, that's just how I am. If I don't want to go down that path, I'd change it up. But that's really all that I ever, you know. And, of course, in the BD world, it's a male-populated world, so... But there are other stories. And then Christy, I'll let Christy dive into that one too, because she might have more meat than I do.
Yeah. Christy, talk to us about some of the obstacles you've overcome in your career.
I think the biggest obstacle was really, looking back, was myself.
Oh, yeah.
I do think that was it. I let the things that were said to me affect me in ways that weren't productive or good for me mentally. And I'm very, like I said, I'm very driven, and I'm very results focused. So it didn't matter what they said. I just found a way around it and figured out how to do better than they were, because they were not being kind, or they were not helping me, or I just figured out a way to do it without them, right? So in a way that's a strength, and in a way that's a weakness. You know, as I got older, it affected my personality in ways that I was not happy with. I was not me by the time all of that affected me in those years. But, you know, I'll just give you one of the first things that somebody said to me. I was an accountant for a number of years before I fell into the industry. And there was a female store manager that was opening a new Lowe's in Indiana years and years ago. And she said, I don't want you to be a credit manager here. It was a small town in Indiana, so Lowe's coming to town was huge. And the business was declining in the area, so I was a single mom, and I thought, this is a good opportunity for me to be a credit manager at Lowe's, right, and make some good money and raise the kid. And what ended up happening was, she said, I've met you, and I think you're going to be very successful in sales. I'm like, look, lady, I can't sell Avon. There's no way I'm going to be good at sales. She said, I just want you to try it, but I promise you that I'll find a job that's going to be really good for you if you don't like it, but I think you're going to like it. So 6 months later, the store's built, and I had over 400 accounts set up before the doors even opened, because I got to drive around all day. I wasn't sitting in a cubicle. I was in love. Like, I was outside. I was talking to people. I got to make friends. And so it was perfect. But because I was so successful in those applications, the gentleman that they hired with me at the same time, he said to me, why don't you go home? That's where you belong. You are taking a job away from a man who needs to support his family. And that was pretty hard for me to hear. However, I was young and very stupid, and I thought, well, I'll show you. I'm just going to sell way more than you do, right? That was kind of my goal. And I did, and things went really well, but I didn't know a lot about construction. Fortunately, there were some really great customers in my life that threw out a set of blueprints in front of me and said, I'm going to show you a few things. And I fell in love with a set of blueprints. And because I have such a math brain, I did the exterior perimeter and interior perimeter in my head and told him what that was. And he was like, oh my gosh, you're going to be so good at this. I'm going to teach you everything I know. So very, very successful. But there are a few things that have happened over the years. And probably my biggest challenge has just been not letting those things that were said to me affect me. Like, I would pretend like they didn't bother me, but they did bother me. So one of the things, I just have to share this because it's funny. I had one customer that I really wanted. He was a great big customer. And I was really, and I've never been a salesy kind of person. I'm here these are what my gifts are. This is what our company brings to the table. I want to bring value to you. What do you need the most? And I try to fit into their business as a value add for their business, somebody they wouldn't have to hire to gain knowledge that they need to create their business into a better place. And he asked me to climb up a ladder in a dress. So I don't even know if Angela's heard this one or not.
No, I have not, no.
But one of the salesmen that I was really, really good friends with, I went back to the store and told him that, and he was like, I'm going back out there. And I couldn't stop him. And he told him what he thought about it, which was kind of cool. I mean, I didn't really want that. Women, by the way, women do not want a knight in shining armor. Like, no. I didn't enter this industry expecting to be treated differently than the guys, right? Like, I knew exactly what I was getting into. But in that particular instance, it did feel a little bit good for somebody else to put that gentleman in his place than me.
Well, somebody else saw what you've been seeing, and they experienced it, and
And I laughed it off, right? Like, that's how I handled everything. Was I didn't find a new job. I was just like, I'm just not going to take you seriously. And a lot of times that was just my way of dealing with it, right? But it also kind of decompressed the men into saying anything else. Like when you make a joke out of it, oh, you're just joking, right? So then they instantly go, oh, well, that's not a line I should cross. So that worked out pretty good as well.
I love how you're able to use these personal stories to connect with people. I'm sure you're able to use that to say, hey, I've been there.
Yes.
I've dealt with that. And as you're talking to some of these business owners, I'm sure they feel the ability to share back and share some experiences that they've had. Do you find that they are hesitant to take that next step? When you're telling them, hey, this is what you could do. This is, let us help you get to where you want this business to be. Are they hesitant to do that?
I think it's a new area, don't you think?
Yeah, but it depends on which platform you're talking about. Because in our Women Construction Forum group, those young ladies or any of them will talk to each other.
Yes.
And we'll get feedback. And a lot of times it's just you need to have that support that says, yes, you need to change that job because you just found out that you're making $10,000 less than your male counterpart doing the same thing and you're getting abused, then you should look for another job.
Right.
Or that, subcontract or that contractor asks you to go down into their basement. It's a young female. No, you probably should not do that again because you didn't have any, your work wasn't down there. So these are, that's my experience with, but then the ladies on our podcast will open up or the minorities will open up about their stories. And it's wonderful to not feel alone and to have a commonality and to hear how someone else solved that problem.
Right.
So I think I look at it a little bit differently than Angela does. And I knew she knew I was going to say this too. I feel like we are all put in a place for a reason, right? So if you have the opportunity to help a male counterpart or a female counterpart that is struggling in one way or the other, I think that good, solid advice from experience to help them nurture their relationship, whether it be bad or good, I think that's what I feel like I bring to the table for this next generation is not necessarily go find another job. Let me help you navigate that, right? Where you're going to get respect, you are going to feel good about yourself, and you might change the culture where you're at, right? Just by having a gentle conversation with someone. Finding out what that man's or that woman's perspective was when she said what she said to you, instead of instantly getting angry or upset, try to figure that out in your own mind so that you can stay in a job. This is what I did my whole life so that I could stay in a job that I loved. I had to figure out how to navigate that space. So I want to help the next generation figure out how to navigate it, because if we keep leaving every job just because it doesn't fit us, how are we going to fix anything? You can't.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. You can't fix it. And I'm a fixer. I want to fix everything, right? I want to make it better. And so I just encourage people to be themselves and just be authentic, right? Go to your boss and tell them, this is what I'm struggling with. Will you help me?
I agree. Try and fix it, but if it doesn't get fixed,
you got to take off.
Yeah.
You got to go. I love that perspective. It's that why you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
And maybe this is your reason. Maybe
Yes.
it's to change it, to change that culture. You have, both of you have a tough job ahead of you with this. This is powerful stuff, you know. And I want to know, in your opinion, with all of the conversations that you're having and the experience and how you guys are pressing into this, how are we doing? Like, when you look at construction, if you had to score us and you had a scorecard 1 to 10, how are we doing as an industry? Where are we at?
We have a lot of room to grow.
Okay.
But I'll be honest, in 2.5 years, I'm pretty proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does feel like
I
things are changing.
Yeah. I feel like we're seeing conversations happen that have never happened before, like this one right here, right? These real conversations are going to change the industry, all the industries and non-traditional careers, right? We need 48% of those women that are not in our fields, and this is why we started a podcast. We want 48% more women coming to work every day so that we're not the only ones at the job sites that are, driven and good at what we do. We'd like to see a lot more women doing that. And if we have these conversations, I think that business owners, whether it be a male or female, because, we all have our biases, right? They're going to see, we do need to make this more conducive to everyone, not just men, not just women, but for everyone.
And that's the other challenge. So you're spending a lot of time talking to the women that are building businesses and going out into the industry. What work needs to happen with the companies? You know, how do we change the mindset of the companies? You know, we're teaching the employees how to deal with it and giving them the tools to deal with it and to work through it and how to change it. But we've got some work to do with the companies themselves, right? That might be your next venture. There you go.
Well, we're already thinking about it.
Are you?
So I'm going to let Angela answer first. You want to answer first? You want me to answer?
Well,
is this new? Are we digging out something?
No, we are digging out something we've been working on mentally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can share.
So I think the first thing is there has to be a safe space for everyone. And that means, if the women need to get away and come to a Women Construction Forum group meeting once a month for happy hour so that they feel like they're not alone, that is really important. That's why I thought she'd want to speak on that. Honestly, all of my passion came out when I met those women. So when I felt like I wasn't alone, I didn't need any help after that. All I needed was to feel like I wasn't alone to keep driving the mission that I feel like I was created to drive, right? So that alone gives empowerment to the women that you have working in your company. And then, I think the minorities need their own group. And then you need to have trackable results from those groups, right? How are we doing? What are we doing? Do we have more minorities? Do we have more women? Okay, so we don't. So let's go back and let's do some more analysis. Let's talk to the women in this group and let's see what can we be doing better. Let's find stages of how we can get there. And it could be baby steps, and that's fine, but at least it's a step, right, in the right direction. So I think that's very important, not only being able to let them be in a place where they are not the only ones that looks like themselves, but then to hold the company owners and executives accountable to a yearly or semi-yearly meeting that says, how are we doing, right? Are we doing better? We're educating the employees. I really care. I mean, really all it takes is I care about you, right?
Right.
I think that's a great answer too, because a lot of people would probably sit back and say, we're doing good. We're doing a good job with this.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah.
If you're not asking that question, or if you're not measuring it, or if you don't have some kind of means to be able to reach out and to ask the people that are being impacted how you're doing as a company, how the culture is, then do you really know?
Right.
Yeah, leadership.
It's easy
down,
to say we're doing okay.
Yeah.
It's easy. Even in my own division, it's easy. Oh yeah, we're doing okay. But
that's tough. So last month was Construction Inclusion Week. So I didn't even know that was a thing until last month, which it was really cool because people are having the conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
just like you talked about
Educating.
earlier. Yeah, we're having conversations that we didn't have before. But we had a client that was participating. I'm going to not say any names, but they invited us. They were doing this as a company, and they invited their partners to come participate in it. And you'd watch the video, and then they just wanted to have conversation around the topic for that day. And it was really cool. I went over, and we all talked about, we watched the video, and we said, all right, what does this look like at your company? And we went around the room. Well, there was a gentleman in there that was not having it. He came in, and from the get-go, I could just tell his body language was off. He didn't want to have the conversation, and he was upset that he was even asked to be there. But he went straight to, you're not going to tell me who I have to hire. You're not going to tell me who I have to put on my team. And I think, I understand what he was saying.
I do too.
But that's where a lot of people go. How do you combat that?
I don't think you can combat it. I think that we can change the world one gentle conversation at a time. I think that if you take the time to get to know that gentleman and really get to know him, like you care about him and hear where his perspective is, he may be dealing with a lot of things that we don't understand, right? And until you understand his perspective, how are you going to have a conversation with him about anything? So having a war or combating it, it's not the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine, and it was uncomfortable. Obviously, the meeting was over after this.
Right.
He erupted. But
I have friends that wouldn't say what I just said. Like, I have friends that be like,
let's go toe to toe.
Yeah. And they would totally combat it, and they'd say all the words, and they'd say all their feelings, and they'd say all the things that have been going wrong for the last 20 years. But where's that going to get him with that gentleman? Yeah. He's not going to listen, right?
Right.
He's not going to listen until you get where he's at.
Yeah, and I would imagine a lot of people go straight to that. Like, you're not going to tell me what I have to do. You're not going to tell me who I have to hire. You know, I'm going to, in his mind, he was putting the best players on the field. But what we're missing is we're not creating an environment that's welcoming to a different population of employees and team members. And so we're not getting the best people applying for these positions.
Well, exactly, because the best could be
anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got an amazing team here at Hoopa. We've got a lot of women in construction here. It's really cool.
There were 700 team members. Right?
735 team members here.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Impressive.
Yes.
And
what percentage of that is women? Can I ask on this?
Oh, I knew you were gonna. You can ask. I'm gonna get it wrong. 15.
Oh, wow.
That's higher than the average. Good job.
Yeah.
What is the average?
It's around 10%.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Especially in non-traditional roles.
Yeah, I would say that's 15% in the field.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Operators.
That's a really good number. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're not including office personnel, that's a really great number.
So talk to me a little bit about. So we've talked about women that are starting businesses, and we've talked about the construction space. What about those that are coming out of school? How do you talk about this to that young lady that's coming out of high school or college? How do you get them excited about coming into our industry?
It's the best job in the world.
It really is. It's fun to get in front of them.
Do you spend time? Do you do a lot of that?
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, our Women Construction Forum actually goes out into the career centers and the technical colleges, and we have a lunch and learn. And we just ask any woman or female student that's in a non-traditional role to, well, we started off saying construction, and then Greenville Tech, they were like, well, we'll just give you all of them. Mechanical, welders, construction, electrical, even aerospace, all of them.
We got to talk to all of them.
Robotics. And then at one point I just said, why don't you throw the marketing folks in there too? Because usually they don't know how to talk about our industry. So we welcome them as well. Right. And they're so curious. Now, each conversation is different, whether you get a college student versus a high school student. But, the questions are a little bit different, but they're curious. They want to know, how do I figure out which job I want to do? We tell them, go do internships.
Go try.
They're out there. Connect with people. The biggest thing we say is connect, find a mentor, ask questions, be curious. That's a big one of Christie's.
Yes, I'm always curious.
So you add to it. I'm sure you have.
No, that was it, really. Be curious, and we just let them know they can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, don't be
it,
limited.
believe it.
Don't let your
Right.
don't let your mind be limited by what you've learned in school or that particular counselor who thinks you're good at this. Go try some things. There's nothing wrong with trying several part-time jobs or several internships,
right.
Absolutely.
and see where your passion is. Right? Like, what greater? I get up every morning excited to go to work. That's what I want for every single individual. It doesn't matter if they're in construction or they're in marketing or they're in accounting, which I can't imagine being excited about that because I was there. But yeah, they just need to know that they can do whatever they want to do, right? And that there's people like us out there that are going to cheer them on and encourage them in whatever it is.
Yes.
And that's where we've got some work to do as companies in the construction space. We've got to provide these opportunities, these internships, these mentorships.
Yes.
Yes.
Like those, you know, we're probably a little bit behind on some of that, but we're getting there. The industry is moving towards that, but creating opportunities where someone can come in and be curious.
Yes.
And ask the questions and get exposed to the industry.
Or just say, I think I like that job. What could I do that for a day? Right? What do you like? What do you see every day while you're at work that you're like, whoa, that might be cool? And then let them try it out for a day. Let them shadow somebody for a day. I mean, why not? What do you have to lose as a company?
Angela, what's your sales pitch for the construction industry to this group of students?
My sales pitch?
Yeah, how do you get them excited about construction? Because I doubt that that's something that the school's doing. You know, you don't.
Well, no, but the counselors, to be fair, they don't. I mean,
They don't know.
What? Yeah,
Right.
they've been probably in a teacher's role or something most of their lives. Oh goodness. Well, we just stand up and share our stories.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh
That's
my
why we
gosh, that's you can do that, or you can be an owner of a construction company quickly, or
Quickly.
yeah, you can be on a board. I mean, you can do all of these things, and they just need to know how to get there, and that it's doable, and that they can see it, right?
And that's
Yeah.
why we started the podcast, right?
Exactly,
Share
to-
all
to
these
share.
women's amazing and men and minorities,
Yes, all men, women.
amazing stories.
Tell me about the
our
podcast.
industry.
I'm excited. So, look, you're on the opposite side of the table today.
Yes,
you know,
we are.
I get to ask all the
Yes,
questions.
yes.
So,
but we're going to ask you some questions
Oh,
too
no.
before we're
Yeah.
done.
so tell me the genesis behind the podcast. Was it just?
Well, the conversation that we're having with you today, we were having regularly with people one-on-one. And as I got busier and started traveling a lot more, I literally looked at Angela. I'm like, we've got to get these stories out. How are we going to do it?
Yes.
And she was like, I said a podcast, and she was like, yeah. So that's where it started. We thought we'd be in our living room for 2 years, and it blew up immediately. Like, we are overwhelmed with the amount of speakers that want to be on our podcast, and it's just been amazing to see the journey all happen, and so well done, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have an excellent audio engineer and so many great people that just want to see our podcast just grow because they understand the importance behind it.
That's
Yeah.
all. So it's about sharing the stories. You're inviting guests on. You say share
Yes.
your story of
Yeah.
how you've overcome challenges.
How you got into it.
Yeah,
You know
how you-
what? Because that's interesting to anyone to hear
Yes.
and understand, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How were you the only female for 27 years?
Or
And- Yeah.
minority. And then how did you own your company?
Yeah.
How'd
And
you
what are
get
you
there?
doing to make your company grow, right? We ask all kinds of questions. What do you do for, mental health? Because this is a very
Oh, yeah.
taxing mental job, right? Being
Absolutely.
in the industry, it's very taxing. So how do you keep your family life balanced? So we
Oh,
ask
yeah.
all the questions, like so that not only businesses but young people can say, "Oh, I can
Yes.
do that too."
They can hear it. I do have to give a plug because I found Erin Witt on Instagram.
Yep.
And I was like, and it just interests me, the dirt world too, because I'd never really been familiar with it. So I followed him, and then I saw that he was doing with the podcasting and how he was sharing stories. So
What a great story there.
I
You
know,
and
I know,
we've been
yeah.
fortunate to be able to partner with Bill Witt, and now you're starting to hear this narrative of making the construction world a better place,
Yeah.
making the
Yeah.
dirt world a better
love it.
place. But all the emphasis is on the people,
yes,
which it's not been that conversation before, and it has been. And Aaron's been instrumental in that. The Bill Witt team's been amazing in that. He's a cool guy. We've had him in the chair that you're in right
yes.
there,
Cool.
and They're doing some amazing things, but I love that we're finally having those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's next for the podcast? Where do we go from here? You guys are, you're trending.
There's a lot.
You're kind of a big deal now.
We have a lot going on for sure. So, we're going to have a newsletter pretty soon. We think that that's really important for the people, especially the women and the companies that are following us, just so that they know what we're doing and what we're up to. And I think consulting is in our future. We're already doing it. We're just not doing it on a level that we want to do it. We want to make it effective, right? So we can come into Hoopah and say, let's meet with your girls and let's see what they need. And then we'll come back to you and tell you what they need, and give you some baby steps to start, and then revisit that. So we think that would be a great place, because we're getting asked that questions regularly, aren't we?
Yeah.
We get people ask us every day, how do I get more women to work for me? So we're coming up with a plan on how to, like a real plan that can either be watched through videos and doing it in place, or we can actually come in and consult and help you figure it out. What's broken, what's not broken. How do you get there in a way that's conducive for the company and a good ROI, right? It's all about the ROI, or we wouldn't be in business. We all know that. So it has to be conducive for the company culture, and then, make sure that it's a good return on investment for them.
Yeah, and then speaking is always, a big deal for us. And then we also want to take this live on the road.
Yes.
To
YouTube videos.
I love it.
Expose, YouTube, job sites. We would love to do some interviews there.
Some of the conventions, trade shows.
Yes.
I can see it. You guys, how did 84 Lumber and Hill Electric right now, they're like, oh, how are we going to hang on to these two? Okay, all right, sorry. We'll edit that out. You know what? But
no, we're kidding.
Hats off to both companies
really?
for embracing this, and really, I mean, and I think about 84 Lumber. Really, I mean, they created this position and went with this vision that was out there, that let's help our clients solve a problem, but let's also make this a better space for those that are trying to be in it. And so it's impressive.
Maggie's a dynamic entrepreneur, and she's a serial entrepreneur. So every time she finds an opportunity, honestly, every time we have to hire someone to do a service or to get materials, she just decides to start a new company that does it. So, I mean, I really have been inspired by that, to be able to do the things that we're doing. And the other thing that we're doing is helping small businesses. We started a nonprofit in Greenville in the upstate of South
course
Carolina.
You did.
Yeah.
Because you had time to start a nonprofit.
We didn't really, but we had amazing people in our life, like you, right, that want to come and speak life into these women who are trying to build their businesses and that aren't in construction. So I felt like we were leaving people out, right? So we wanted to make sure that all the people were included, not just in construction and non-traditional careers.
That's so cool. And I can tell y'all are having fun.
Yes.
We are.
You're enjoying this.
Yeah, we love it.
Well, you're making a huge impact. You're making a difference. And hats off to you for going down a road that not a lot of people have gone. And you're having the conversations. You're getting people to talk about it. There are a ton of awards here that you've gotten. I sat here and I was reading this, that you're on all these different advisory boards. You started this nonprofit, Woman of Influence Award, Greater Women's Business Council Award for WBE Advocate of the Year, 2020 South Carolina Women in Business recipient for, there's a lot of awards here. Outside of the awards and the recognition from the industry, what is the thing that you're most proud about with this journey? What is your most, the accomplishment that you're most proud of?
So mine would be seeing other women receive those awards and me be in the background. That, just hearing the stories that y'all don't hear, is my reward.
Wow.
So I'm just going to say, the first time I won an award, I went home and I cried so hard trying to tell my husband that I won the award. That he didn't understand a word I was saying. He was like, calm down. I don't understand what you're saying. And it wasn't because I won the award. It was the fact that what I was doing mattered, right? The awards don't mean anything. They sit on a shelf, and yes, they matter. Don't get me wrong. On a piece of paper, it looks great, right? But at the end of the day, the efforts that are put in to get that award are sometimes sleepless nights. They're hard conversations. They're crying conversations with folks that are struggling, right? And so those awards represent tears and pride and a lot of really hard work from people who deserve it more than I do, truly. Those awards are not mine. Those awards really are my husband and my daughter who don't see me much, but they're really the awards of the people in my life who have inspired me to be able to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do before because I want to help them.
Wow. That's beautiful. And you sharing your award with all those that have helped you, and you deserve it. Both of you do. You're doing incredible work. I'm excited for you, and I want to know, how can we, as an industry, support what you're doing right now? What can we do? How can we support your work?
Well, we have sponsorships available.
Sponsor the podcast.
Yeah. We're
Okay.
actually working on that document in the car.
How does someone do
summarizing
that? They go to the website?
Very soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
very
It's
soon.
coming.
Documents finished as of today.
We're
so.
actually going to start emailing some of our, contacts and suggesting and seeing, now that we have the data, because we've only been doing this for 10 months.
Yeah.
So now we have to show people, this is what you will get if you back us, which is a lot.
It's a lot. You start showing them how many people listen, how many
The
downloads.
followers, the downloads, everything.
And all the places that we say their name, right? That's what that's what's hard to write on paper, right? We're everywhere
in such a short period of time.
And so for us to be able to promote promote any company that loves what we're doing, it's a great DE&I initiative for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Love that. All right, so you heard it. They need sponsors.
Yes, we did.
Construction industry. Women Talk Construction. That's the name of it, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll be looking out for the website. Thank you both for coming in here and sharing. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for being construction's version of Thelma and Louise. I can't wait to see your visions come to fruition, and you guys to continue asking questions and pressing into this. We need it. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having us on, and thank you for all the work that you're doing around this, because we see a lot of people talking the talk, but we don't see a lot of people walking the walk. And I just have to, I admire you for what you're doing.
Well,
bringing us on, talking to Amy. I love Amy's podcast about, why isn't AGC and ABC and all these groups together? And I love that her vision is that way. And, we're all better together.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
We're going to make a big impact. And thank you for what you're doing. And it does matter to you.
Well, I have 2 daughters at home. So, so they tell me every day I've got work to do. Right. So we all can get better. We can do a better job of this, but we've got to have the conversations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So keep having the conversations. Excited to hear more about your podcast. And thank you for being on the Give Us a Dirt podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Give Us the Dirt. Visit our website at giveusthedirtpodcast.com and subscribe to this podcast on Apple and Google so you never miss an episode.